Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. So, I want us to continue our journey and our exploration on the process of surrendering our burden into the blessed field, and to figure out a way for us to actually increase our certainty. We're going to go into greater details about this today. It is funny for me that that information about increasing certainty and connecting with the actual divine name that gives you absolute certainty, I've known this for over 20 years, and I've rarely used it for myself. And out of my desire to try to help you, I've begun to share this with you, and suddenly I begin to realize, why am I not using this for me as well in my own issues? So I'm in a different space. And again, I want to thank you. Had it not been for the fact that I was sharing it to you, with you, I would not be inclined to use it for myself. So to review, with all of those changes and dramatic climate change alone is creating so much stress and distress for people. I was talking to some friends of mine who are trying to leave Florida because they can't find insurance because of all the storms and the hurricanes that have basically hit Florida in multiple for the past 3 years. That, for example, Farmers Insurance, the number 4 insurance company in the U.S., is out of the state altogether. Dropped all of the insurers and just walked out because their risk assessment is too high. So insurance is skyrocketing. A lot of people are finding it very difficult to find insurance, and therefore the cost of everything real estate related is getting more complicated. If you're living in a condo, that there is other issues that are related to that. Again, climate change related. There is no cash reserve in a lot of these condos, and the assessment for the repair and the recertification of these buildings is getting more and more expensive. And people are trying to sell so that they can get out and move out of state. So we have that situation. It's just one example. There are things that are more dire. There are people who have experienced wildfires, who have experienced floods, mudslides, hurricanes, and even us in New York, we're experiencing rain like we have never experienced in such a short period of time. I mean, we had a period it rained for 2 days just recently. Today is a sunny day, but prior to that, it had rained for 7 days straight. And around that time of the year, we don't have this kind of rain. Something is not right, and we know this. And all of these things are creating anxieties. But aside from the climate change stuff, we know that the adversary is customizing learning modules to teach us how to remove our shame and our undeservedness. And I'm framing this in the proper elevated perception, not from the human perception. To us, it may seem like we're stuck in a glue trap and we're suffering. But from a cosmic point of view, it's an opportunity for us to overcome something really big and something really immense that we were not looking at or addressing before. Or if we did address it, we addressed it on the surface. Now everything has to be put on the table. We have to be clean in front of the throne room of God, and those kind of situations will present themselves to us in a way that we can no longer hide or camouflage or pretend that we're okay. I have to tell you that when that idea and the concept of certainty, well, not even certainty, before I get into certainty, but the concept of surrendering and truly completely emptying yourself out and surrendering it into God was presented to me, I didn't get it, okay, initially. It was not till 2 weeks later that God orchestrated a test for me. And in that test, I ended up learning something. Because sometimes you have to have a disease in order for you to figure out the antidote or the cure for the disease. I was studying at the Kabbalah with the Kabbalist, with the Israeli Kabbalist, and my teacher, every Tuesday night, we had a Kabbalah class, no, a Zohar class. And it was a female teacher we had, and she would sit down and she would read a passage from the Zohar. And by the way, the Zohar, or a series of 23 volumes that were written by Shimon Bar Yochai, a rabbi around the time of Christ, who took the first 5 books of the Bible and went in a cave with his son, who were also rabbi, and created 23 books that were commentary. Now, the books were so elevated and so high for the time, because the Zohar translated into the book of splendor. So they hid it, and it was not until the 13th century that it began to resurface in Europe, because the rabbi who were hiding it figured out it was the time now for humanity to see it. In a similar fashion that the Dead Sea Scroll were buried, they buried the information, and it resurfaced around Europe. And this is when, around that time, it was right before the Inquisition, and there was such a cross-fertilization between Judaism and more importantly, Kabbalah, which this was the hidden mystical aspect of Judaism, because Judaism as a faith, as a religion, is not the Kabbalah. The Kabbalah is more, it's the inner secret of Judaism, or of the Israeli people. So the long and the short of it is that it began to surface, and there was cross-fertilization between Christianity and the Kabbalah at the time. And there was a branch that became Christianized in a way, but the information got, because the teaching, Kabbalah actually means received. It's actually information received from angels, from celestial beings. And so I was taking this class on the Zohar, and she would read in Hebrew, and then after she reads for like a good 10-15 minutes, then she would translate, and she would say, and then she would make commentary, and the class was 2 hours long. That day she read this passage, and then after she was done with the passage, she said, as an example, and this is the part that kind of shocked me when she said it. And I remember at the time hearing her words and understanding what she was saying, but it was like Charlie Brown to me, because she was like, blah, 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 blah. I couldn't, nothing she was saying made sense. I heard the words, I understood the words, but it didn't register with anything else in my world. What she said is that cancer is the most intense form of chaos. And she said, therefore, it's an illusion. No matter what kind of disease, or for that matter, pain and suffering that you have, it's an illusion. It doesn't exist. And she said, I'm going to tell you how you can overcome it according to what we just read in the Zohar. And she said, okay, so what you do is that wherever you feel the disempowerment, whether it is in some part of your physical body, whether it's an emotion, a feeling, or a situation that makes you feel a certain way, like disempowered or in fear or whatever, you think about it, and you think about the feeling and what it makes you feel like. Don't ignore it. Go into it. First step. Second step, take a very deep breath and connect to your God concept. Connect to however you perceive the uncreated to be, and the connection that you have to it. However you feel it, connect to it. And when you connect to it, when you grab it and you connect to it, then take a deep breath and let that uncreated, unburdened, and for that matter, infinite force come into the disempowerment that you're feeling and let it unburden you. And she said, it's as easy as blinking your eye. I didn't get it. I heard her, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay, I wrote a couple of things down. I'm like, I knew it was important, but I just couldn't comprehend what she was saying. So the class ended. I went back home. I remember when she said it, I looked at other people around me. We were looking at each other. We're like, what does she mean? People ask questions, blah, blah, blah. And the class ended an hour later. I just couldn't comprehend what she was saying. 2 weeks later, I woke up one morning and I was in such excruciating throbbing pain throughout my lower back, shooting to the bottom of my feet, that the only way I could get up, I remember very clearly, it was on a Saturday, because I was supposed to have brunch, around 11-ish, 11:30, I was supposed to meet with a friend in Midtown. And so I rolled off the side of the bed to get up. And somehow, from the crouching position, when I stood up, all the pain was gone. But anything else I tried to do, like raising my leg to get into the tub, to take a shower, anything that I tried to do, the pain, the shooting pain, excruciating, hot water, tears dropping down my face, excruciating. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand it because up to that point, it's not like I jumped or I fell off a roof or I dropped on my back. Nothing like this happened. I don't know how it happened. And because I just went to bed, I woke up the next morning, there it was. And I remember I kept on trying slowly to do all the preparation. Just putting my underwear on and toweling myself was excruciating. I was like, okay, I'm supposed to go to brunch with these people. I don't know if I'm going to make it. And I kept on putting stuff on me and trying to, I was not even thinking about taking like a Tylenol. None of that stuff was in my awareness. I was just so aware of the pain because the pain was all that my body was aware of. Not everything else was out. It was just shooting pain, poo, poo, like a pulsating pain, nonstop, poo, poo, poo. Every couple of 2 or 3 seconds, it was radiating out. And throbbing pain. And so I remember I somehow managed to get rest, but I didn't put my shoes on because I couldn't lace my shoes. I managed to get the socks on, the sneakers were on, but I couldn't lace them. But every morning I do my morning meditation. So I went to my meditative chair, my recliner, and I sat in it. And again, the sitting was excruciating. At that moment, the word that she was saying came back to me. And I'm like, what did she say again? She said it's an illusion. And she said to go into the pain and then go into your God concept and ask God to remove this from you, to take this away from you. And I went and sat down. And I remember the throbbing pain in my back, like tender, sensitive. I'm sitting down and I'm kind of like twisting myself to find the right position because the pain was, for me to try to quiet my mind to do all these steps. But I could hear her words nonetheless. I could hear what she said. And then I went into my lower back where the pain was radiating, where I was feeling it. I felt it completely. I didn't ignore it. And I took a very deep breath. And I went into my God concept. However, the God of my heart and the God of my understanding. And as I got there, I asked for it for that energy system, that blessed field, to take the pain away from me. And I could feel something drop, and then suddenly, like this, the pain was switch off. I remember my reaction, because for about 2.5 minutes to 3 minutes, it was a split brain thing. On the one side, I was in awe and in gratitude, thanking God. Thank you, God, for this miracle. Thank you, blessed you be for your holy name, for all the things that you're doing to me. Bless. And then on the other side, there's a part of me that's going, what the hell is my pain? What happened to my pain? I'm supposed to be in pain. What happened to the throbbing? What happened to me? I've been feeling this since this morning. 2 hours I've been trying to get rest. Where's the pain? Why is it the pain? So this went on for about 2.5 minutes. And then it became almost like a ping pong match between the two sides. It became too comical, and I exploded into laughter. And then at that point, I realized the pain was really gone. I bent down, I laced my shoes, I got up, I made the final preparation, I finished my coffee, I walked outside, and in fact, I skipped to get to the subway on 8th Avenue to take the A train to go to Midtown. I went and had brunch with my friend, nothing happened, blah, 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 and so on and so forth. Everything was great. But I have to be honest with you. Some later point in the afternoon, after I returned back home, for a moment, for about 2 or 3 minutes, the pain returned. I then went back and did exactly the same step. It was gone. A day and a half or 2 days later, it returned again. It happened 3 times after the initial experience. And every time I remember the first day. We have an old proverb back home that says you have to know there to go there. What my Kabbalah teacher was saying was so outrageous to me and so incredibly simple that I couldn't process it. I'm using this illustration, this actual experience of mine, as a way to explain to you what happened to me when, for me, the rubber met the road. And I want to also say to you that my mind and my consciousness was not in certainty, because that other half of me that kept saying, where's the pain? Why is the pain not here? It's the part of me that feel undeserving of the fact that in an instant like this, it was gone. This is the part of me that was still in shame, that said, why is the pain not here? Why? And this, this was a long conversation. And I'm like, I remember my consciousness going back into my lower back, looking for the pain. The pain is here. It was here just a moment ago. How did it disappear? What happened? And blah, 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 blah. And it just kept on going up and down, trying to find it. And this is the reason why in 3 more occasions, the pain returned. Because there was a part of me that couldn't accept the miraculous and the instantaneous change that this was creating for me. I'm using this because I want you to understand. This is the fundamental thing that I am trying to teach you. Everything else that I do, whether it's the clearing, the past life regression, the future life progression, the ray reading, the coaching, and everything else, it's all revolve around that one thing. To help you get to a point where you can accept that true healing is actually instantaneous. And it can happen in the blink of an eye. When I do celestial light healing, whether I'm doing it remotely or in person, the greatest challenge I have, because when I'm doing it for a client, the client clearly cannot get into that state by themselves. So when spirit is guiding me to put my hand in different part of their body where they're holding large amounts of fear and shame and this undeservedness, when I inhale their disempowerment and move it through me. And since I'm connected to my understanding of what true liberation and freedom is, I bring that through me again. Instead of putting it into my back, my lower back when the pain is, I am using my hand as a conduit to pass it into their body. That's the gist of the healing that I do. I can do it one-on-one, hands-on healing, or remotely. Everything that I do connects back to that one simple thing. Yet to be that simple is incredibly complicated. In the Kuan Yin Heart Sutra, where she began to describe that form is emptiness and emptiness and form, where she began to describe, I've done other classes here with you on the true essence of Kuan Yin Heart Sutra Chi Chi. All of that relate to one thing. It is non-attachment to everything that exists in your life, including your own identity. Because guess what? When I was looking for the pain, I had already identified with my pain body. I had already identified with it. And I was searching for it. The fact that it got taken away from me was me wondering, why is it not here? Most of us live in our pain body. We identify with it. It becomes something we exist in, we marinate, we spend days, hours just existing because it gives us an anchor into this 3D reality where supposedly we have to survive. But in the essence of being, which exists in the God concept, in Dharmata, as the Tibetan Buddhists talk about it, there is no such thing. Form and whatever disease, disempowerment, emotion, struggle, trauma, suffering that you're going through, it's emptiness. It's an illusion. This is why she said what she said. It's an illusion. And if it's an illusion, all you need to do is restore your connection and your knowing, because your higher self knows this, is to restore your knowing and let it drop back into your entire 3D experience and watch it vanish like this. Now, the deep breath helped me a lot too. I mean, when I was able to inhale and go into that space and then let the energy drop. Now, if you are having difficulty breathing, don't worry about it. Let your awareness lift above your head and go into the God concept and let that energy come back to you. I want you to understand what I'm saying. Because when you read the Kuan Yin Heart Sutra the first time, or for that matter, when I was hearing Ruthie saying what she said, my Kabbalah, my Zohar teacher said what she said, I just, it was, again, Charlie Brown, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, what is she saying? Nothing makes sense. The truth was so high and so incredibly simple that I would not accept it. And it took, and I'm convinced now that that experience I had, this is my first and only time experience with sciatica, that whole experience was God, or for that matter, Satan, testing me and trying to teach me. This was a teaching module to give me an experience so that I can learn this once and for all. It was from Satan. There's no question about it. From the adversary. But it was a teaching module because the tool to overcome it was given to me 2 weeks earlier. And thank God, her voice came back to me out of nowhere because I was in pain. I kept on thinking, what should I do? What do I know in my healers manuals, books, and teaching and things that I know? What do I do that can overcome this? And then all of a sudden, I could hear her voice coming back into my head. I want you to comprehend what I'm saying, because it's not, I'm not saying that you don't get hurt in this world. What I'm saying is that when you're in the transcendental state, the pain and the suffering of the world cease to affect you. Any questions, any comments so far?
Yeah, I have so many, I don't know where to start. Can you help me understand, please? Yes, the transcendental state it allows you to disengage, I guess is the word, from the 3D world, which is an illusion in its entirety, I think you've said in the past. So not just the pain, the disillusionment, the financial struggles, the whatever the issue is that has you troubled, is all an illusion, because once you are in a connection with the blessed field, none of it exists because you are not in the 3D reality. Is that correct for the first part of my question?
Yes, absolutely correct. You got it dead on. Yes.
Right. So the trick here then is to continue to maintain that transcendental state. If you can achieve it, in your case, and thank God you did, to relieve the pain. And then, yes, it did come back. So I guess you slipped a bit in your transcendental state to allow that 3D reality, illusion, excuse me, to return.
Yes.
That was fortunate that you could do that. People who suffer for years, an issue you yourself have often spoken about, 5 years of suffering, is that a case in point of not being in that transcendental state adequately, perhaps is the word.
Okay, so the best way I can describe this to you is to say that the challenge that we all have is that the pain body can be so strong, we become like dogs that are watching squirrel.
Mm-hmm.
Squirrel, squirrel, and we're spinning after the squirrels. Mm-hmm. And we're watching the pain. Squirrel, squirrel, and we're not focusing on the essence of being.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was the case for me for the 2.5 hours, or almost 3 hours that I was getting ready, because I got up at 6 o'clock. I mean, it was more than that. I didn't get ready and to leave the apartment till 10:30. So it took me that length of time because the pain was so strong. Every step, everything I started crying, hot tears, But I can tell you that it was so distracting, I couldn't think of anything else. Right? It's so loud. And perchance, because I always do my practice, I decided I'm still going to try to sit down and do something. I don't know how successful I'm going to be, but I'm going to try to sit down and do something. And I remember the sitting down and the bending my hips, how painful it was, because it was throbbing. But what happened is that the moment the key, I think, Janice, is if you don't have a cultivated relationship to your higher power, it will be very difficult for you to find it.
Would you say that the intensity of the pain drove you to seek that transcendentalism more intensely? That for you to get out of that fear state or the reactive, pain reactive state, sort of drove you to a deeper connection? Is that what it takes?
Sometimes in this instance, I would say that's accurate. But I can tell you, if I was somebody that didn't have a deep, profound spiritual practice and knew what that higher state was for me, I would not be able to find it.
So still the certainty, the absolute certainty.
Well, I'm not even there yet. I'm saying that the connection to my higher power, to my God concept.
I see.
Do you see what I'm saying? I'm not even in certainty yet. And we're gonna move into that next. But what I'm saying is that I had a practice, a long-standing practice of deep meditation and connection into the blessed field. I knew what that energy, what that looked like. But at that moment, I realized what Ruthie was saying began to make sense to me. I realized that I am in severe disempowerment. I don't have cancer, thank God, at the moment, but I have whatever that pain is, it's excruciating. And then I remember what she said. And I'm like, okay, it's not going to hurt anything. I know what that other space looks like because I've been there multiple times. Let me try to reach it. And I barely did 1 or 2 breaths. And because, again, I think you're accurate, I was in such a crisis, I was able to connect to it. But I had a long-standing practice. To someone who is barely religious or barely spiritual, asking them to do this and to connect to it, they will not be able to do it. Mm-hmm. And this is the reason why I do healing for other people, because most people on the planet do not have that connection. And so, since I have the connection, I can be a conduit to let that connection pass through me into them, so that temporarily they can experience it and remember that they have it in them too.
So it really isn't then different if I jump to what we were talking about, I think it was last week, maybe the week before as well, of asking God in the strongest intention possible to take away from you what you're suffering in all humility, that you cannot do it yourself. You release the control of the desire to surrender, being part of it. Is that the same as you just were describing then?
Amen. Exactly.
Okay.
Amen.
Okay. I was just saying that all you did here was connect, but it was at the same time a surrender.
Well, it was a complete surrender.
Okay.
Take this pain away from me. Take it. I can't take it. I can't control it. It's beyond my power to change or to do anything. Take it away from me, please.
This whole idea of illusion,
yeah,
is a little baffling to me. Why are we in illusion? I mean, the whole 3D world, I guess, is illusion, but
yes, it's a matrix. It's an illusion created so that we can remove shame.
And the illusion, in part, is separation.
Yes, that we're alone and we have to manage it alone. We have to do it alone and we have to struggle with it alone. And when there is a blessed field that can remove all of it.
So to divorce yourself from seeing the illusion is part of the trick of this process, because you have to see what you have before you in your reality and say it doesn't exist at the same time that you are seeing and suffering it.
Yes. And I went into my lower back, and again, she said, acknowledge the area where you have the problem. Go into it.
No problem.
And since you have a connection to the transcendental, now go into the transcendental, however you get there, because there are multiple ways to do this. There are people who do breath control. There are others who do recite a mantra. There are others, however you get there, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. Because everyone, it's the God of your heart and the God of your understanding. Everyone has a way of getting there. Get into it and ask that force to intercede on your behalf and remove this from you. And to the degree you surrender it completely, it will be gone like this.
And then you're going to go into the certainty issue. But thank you for taking time to clarify that for me.
Yes. Because what happened is that a lot of times, and again, as I said, for me, the shame was still there. It was too easy. I literally, as I released it into God, and then I blinked my eyes, it was gone. My body was kind of jolted. It's like, what just happened? Why is it not there? And then there was the other part of me that was like, blessings, thank you, God, I'm in deep gratitude. And the other half of me kept going, wait, go back, wait.
That's the undeservedness.
Yes.
Yes,
This is the shame. This is
shame.
the shame that we need to remove.
That's right. Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Any questions? Any comments? So the next phase of this, whatever disempowerment you have, let's say you manage to temporarily lift yourself up into that place. And again, I'm going to use my client as an example because, again, I already told you my personal example of how the pain returned. The sciatic pain returned 3 times for that following week, and after that, it was all gone. And again, I went back to the same place. I released more and more my undeservedness. I began to realize I deserve this. Yes, God is trying to teach me. It's a teaching module. Whatever Satan is doing to me, it's trying to help me. It's a teaching module. It's a way for me to learn. And so, in my celestial light healing, hands-on healing, a lot of times when I do the healing, again, as I do it, I am just a conduit because most people, it's too easy for people to go into. A lot of time the client are like, I can't, so I put my hand on the part of their body, let's say it's their shoulder or the back of their neck or their chest or their stomach. I put my hand wherever the problem is, and I take a deep breath. And as I inhale, the disempowerment, I can feel disempowerment underneath my hand. I can feel the tightness. I can feel, and sometimes I get images as well. And I inhale very deeply, and I'm in complete neutrality first, and the stuff moves through me, and I release it back. I connect it to source, which is the place of the blessed field where infinity times infinity is there, and there is no suffering in that space. The universe is trying to rebalance and re-equilibrate everything. Everything that's out of disharmony, the universe is seeking to bring it into balance. So as I'm acting as a conduit, the disempowerment, the information of the disempowerment, I scan it basically with my hand. It goes, the information goes and goes into source. And then as I inhale again from source, the healing and the repair that they need rush back into me. The sensation in my body, typically, it feels like water is gushing through my hand, like whoosh, like water, but it's energy moving through. And when it reaches the body of the client, there is a sigh of relief. You hear them go, oh, because the suffering dissipates. And then when I have to move to a different location, Spirit guide me now, move to the knee, go to the bottom of the foot, go, and I move as I'm being told. And why I'm saying this, it's because when the healing ends, what eventually happens is that typically two reactions. One, of course, there are other things that happen during the healing. Sometimes the client feels either cold or extremely hot, or they feel electrical shock moving through their body. And some of them jolt, like their body begins to jolt or tremble, and etc. And I don't control this because I'm not doing the healing. This is the part of all different healing modalities, this is the easiest thing in the world to do because I'm not doing the healing. I'm not pushing energy into them. I'm not all I'm doing is being a conduit. I'm connect, and that's the greatest challenge. Because what happened? Squirrel. When you're in that state of transcendental state, you're connected to things, your consciousness often will want to drift, either by judging the client because of the information you're getting from them. Why are they doing this way? They shouldn't be doing that way. Or thinking about food, some other distraction. And my challenge is for the entire hour to serve them and to therefore remain neutral and allow whatever spirit wants to give them, without me, Pierre, getting in the way. Now, the reaction when the healing is done, because I always do a debriefing where after they be able to get up, because people feel so expanded, all the stuff is over. When they're getting up, there are two reactions. One reaction is, thank you so much for this. I feel so much better. Thank you, God. Thank you. Now, if that reaction occurs, I know that the person that I just did the healing for, that healing is sticking. But almost, I would say 90% of the time, the client gets up and the first thing they say, I can't believe I don't have the pain in my back anymore. If you cannot believe it, it's going to be back in a week. That's the undeservedness. I cannot believe I don't have, my migraine headache is gone. I cannot believe that my knees, I can bend my knees with no pain. The moment you say I cannot, that means you're still in shame. You still believe you're undeserving. It's going to come back. It might come back to a lesser degree, but it's going to come back. Moreover, a lot of times my clients, when I do the healing for them as well, I get images sometimes. And sometimes very often the client also will see things and will see during the healing, images, colors, and etc. And sometimes the colors and images are not connected to this reality. You see things that there is no 3D way for you to explain what it is that you just saw. But there are lots of things that I see. I see people, I see angels, celestial masters. There are things that I see that I can relate. And when I do the debriefing, and if I'm seeing images, it's because the client has homework to do to remove the shame and the undeservedness. Every once in a while, I do healing for a client, no images whatsoever. And they are in deep gratitude, and that's it. The healing is sticking, they're healed, and they're done. That's it. One heal. In the ideal situation, I need to heal you only once. If it keeps returning, it's because there is an attachment that still remains. There is an undeservedness and a program that's still connecting you and causing you not to accept the blessing that the blessed field is trying to install in you. God and infinity times infinity is all around us trying to say, there is no suffering. I can help you. I can remove this. It's us that are busy going, la, 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 and we're not listening. So it's a question of working. If you have images and you have things that you need to working through them so that you can get to the place where you can completely accept it. But there is something that can actually help you get to that place. And that something is certainty. Absolute certainty. Certainty is the concept or the idea of you connecting to a part of yourself a part of, once you get into the blessed field and you arrive there and you can experience for a moment complete relief. The pain, the suffering, the disempowerment, the emotional stress, it's just like this, gone. It's gone, magically gone, lifted. And because it is lifted, you have to find a way for it to stick. You have to put the gas pedal to the pedal to the metal so that you can make sure that it remains. And the way I'm going to explain this, I have spoken about this, but I'm going to repeat it again. It's the passage of the Dead Sea. And it's the perfect example that I know of that explains what absolute certainty is. According to the Zohar, the concept in the Torah where Moses took out of Israel 3 million people, only 600,000 or half a million were actually Israelite. The others were from other races, other faith. They just were slaves and they wanted a way out of Egypt. When Pharaoh realized what happened because he was so distraught, he followed them and cornered them on the Dead Sea. God created a column of fire, and during the night, they knew that the column of fire was going to end in the morning, and Moses asked God what they should be doing. And God, according to the Zohar, not tell them, lift your staff and separate the water. None of that actually happened. What God told Moses at that point is this: jump in the water, walk in the water. And Moses told the people this, and the mixed multitude, the other 2.5 million people, almost lynched him. They were so angry at him and saying to him, you took us out of Egypt and Pharaoh is going to kill us now. At least we were slaves, but at least we were alive, blah, blah, blah. And they were complaining. And he said, that's not what God is telling us. God is telling us he already gave us the means to create the miracle. And I want to explain to you, according to the Kabbalah, what exactly that means. In Hebrew, the actual chapter that describes this splitting of the Dead Sea, that first verse, when you add the numerical value of all the letters, it gives you a number that equates to 2 words, because every number is connected to words. Because Hebrew is one of the 5 sacred languages, and the Hebrew letters connect directly to our DNA. Directly. So, and this is true of all chapters in the Bible. That first verse in Hebrew, if you can calculate the numerical value in Hebrew, what it is, that word is the theme for the entire chapter. And in this instance, it's certainty. However, they also said when you actually rearrange the all of the letters that are in that first verse in Hebrew, it actually gives you 72 divine names. And each divine name is composed of 3 Hebrew letters. And each one of them is an aspect of the personality of God. During the night, the 3 Hebrew letters, I'm going to show it to you in a second, but I want to describe it first. And when you look at Hebrew letters, because the way the alphabet is, you have to read it from right to left. You have to scan it and look at it from right to left, not from left to right. And it's Ayin, Resh, and Yod. Those are the 3 Hebrew letters. I'm going to show it to you in a second. And he showed the entire crowd those 3 Hebrew letters. And by them looking at the ship, you don't need to understand it. You don't need to intellectually understand what it means and what it translates into. Just look at the shape. Look at what the shapes are. And as you look at the first one, the second one, and the third one, go back again, the first one, the second one, and the third, and you keep staring at it. What's going to happen is that your entire DNA will respond, and energetically, you're going to move into a field and connect to the blessed field in an absolute certainty and assuredness of what you're asking miracle or intervention for is already done. Not it will be done, it's already done. Because this reality is an illusion. So in the morning, 3 million people put in that fence. In the morning, what then happened is that as the sun was rising, the column of fire is winning down. A young man named Makshoni, teenager, in a trance of this connection, began to move in the water while the rest of the 3 million people just watched him, including Moses. And he walked in, and you could hear the water lapping the shore. He walked in to the water up to his knee, to his leg, to his waist, to his chest, to his shoulders, and through his mouth. And when the water started going inside his mouth, the water separated. Makshoni was in such certainty, and it wasn't just him. He was the avatar, or the symbol, or the selected Messiah for that moment of miracle. And 3 million people in that certainty were animating their energy into him. Everyone was looking at him, and they were projecting certainty that nothing is going to happen to him. He's going to find safe passage. The next thing you know, the water separated in half. Now, the part in the Zohar that's the most extraordinary is that the Zohar says at that moment, every body of water on the planet split in half. And it is because the laws of nature and physics obey the blessed field. And since it was the blessed field, although the request came from all these people, but it was the blessed field that was doing it. The connection of consciousness to the blessed field can suspend law and create new one. So the way liquid operate, and in this instance, the Dead Sea and every water operate, was suspended. And for those reasons, they are able to walk at the bottom of the Dead Sea with a column of water on either side. They go on the other side. And when they arrive on the other side, Pharaoh followed, and the law was then, the old law was then returned back, the water closed. And Pharaoh and his army drowned. Pharaoh's army drowned. Not Pharaoh, Pharaoh didn't go through, but Pharaoh's army drowned. Do you understand what I mean? Any questions, any comments?
Just a question here. The laws of nature were suspended only until the Israelites and the crowd could cross.
Yeah.
Was that then part of the initial I would say request? I guess it would be believing that it was already going to be, that it already had happened. Was the timing of that part established, or was that the other part that just
I don't know. God was doing it. Okay?
So, right, okay, I got you. Okay.
You understand? I don't know exactly, because all that Moses was guiding these people on doing is to ask for safe passage.
So that was then part of what you say. We don't ask how he's going to do it. We just and any characteristics, when it's going to end, when it's going to start, you just trust it.
This is where certainty is. You have to trust it completely.
Yeah,
you have to have faith, and you have to trust it. You don't control it. You don't manage it.
I love that.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody else? Any comments? Any questions? All right, I'm going to share my screen with you. Did I open it? Okay. Let me open it first. Sorry. So last week I had said to you, hold on. Go back. Oh, sorry. I had sent to you a copy of this. And here are the three letters on this side with the pink bubble circle of the three Hebrew letters that you need to look at from right. So this one first, second, and third. Okay? And if you look at them long enough, after you've went into the blessed field and made the connection between your disempowerment and and that higher consciousness state, and you want to maintain it and make sure it stick, that's what you need to look at. And it will create the certainty that you need. In fact, it will move everything in the universe to make sure it happens. You don't need to know how, but it will move it. Any questions, any comments that you have? First of all, did you all receive it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And then you do the prajna paramitra as well.
You could do that. You could do that as well. But in all certain, okay, the prajna paramita does the same thing. So what happened? What I can say to you is this: if you do this long enough and you stare at it long enough, let's say for 3, 4, 5 minutes, what's going to happen is that the three images will remain with you. And for the rest of the day, while you're walking, doing other things, you can feel insurance and confidence in you. You could feel the certainty.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, people who will see you will begin to say to you, my God, what happened to you? You're glowing. Because you have ignited in your DNA the God aspect that gives absolute certainty. This is literally what I'm giving you now. It's the deepest secret to manifest in your life anything that you want. Now, with great power comes great responsibility. This is high level stuff. You don't use it for trivial nonsense. Like you're afraid because you know you're gonna go and take a drive and you're afraid of spiders or snake. You don't use certainty for nonsense for BS like this. This is you literally rewriting physical law. You use this when there is a need for you to really use it. And I'm giving you this now because Satan is creating so many crises for me, for all of you that are so strong and so powerful. We need help. And this is it. Iron. Let me see. It's actually, the letters is Ayin, Resh, and Yod. Ayin, Resh, and Yod. Any questions, any comments? If there are no questions or no comments, and for those of you on the phone, I feel sorry for you, but I did email you, everyone, and I text you as well on your phone, these symbols. So you should be able to find them and look at it, because it's important that you make, it has to be a visual contact, the eye contact, again, with the same thing with the dream. When you're focusing on the nape of the neck, or when you're doing the monadic merger, you have to go around the circle as if you were sitting inside the hand of a clock, and it's your eye contact. This is where the power is to activate it. Eye contact with Ayin, then Resh, then Yod. Any other questions or comments?
Pierre, I did want to give a witness to what you were saying, because it's like bringing things back to your remembrance when you actually impress this in your consciousness. It's written, it's there. And I think it was Thursday, I had to take this test, and I had it was a CT scan, and I had to go and you know subject myself to this test in order for the doctors to make some other diagnosis to see what's going on inside my body. And so when I went there, I was feeling okay, and I had been reading some positive literature before I left and while I was sitting waiting. But when I went into this machine, they put you on this thing that slides you into this machine, and that human aspect of me, all of a sudden I got so panicked. I wanted to run. I wanted to get off that table. I just panicked in a way that like I said, this is a new experience, this panic. And then all of a sudden, this thought just came, to me, that the name of my father and mother, God, is written in my forehead. And this peace just descended upon my whole body. It's like somebody just gave me some kind of tranquilizer or something. I just was completely relaxed. And I just lay there breathing, because before I felt like I couldn't breathe, and now I was breathing easily and effortlessly. And the peace that just descended, upon me, and just went from, my head right on down through my body. And then the guy said, okay, the test is finished. I don't know how many minutes passed, because we were in there for a while, but it just seemed like it was like the time was suspended. And he said, you finished? And I said, okay. And then, they helped me get up and come out of there. So when you were talking today about that, I said, oh my goodness, I can say I have witnessed that as happening, because just feeling that feeling. And I remember the words of Jesus when he was asking the Father to make us one as he and the Father are one, that we would feel this oneness. That was his prayer for us in general, that we would know that feeling of oneness. Mm. So I just want to say that, yes, indeed, what you're saying is true, and it's palpable, and you do feel it. And the whole point of this human experience is to remember the God self, the God part of ourselves. We came into the earth, and that veil of forgetfulness came across us, and we forgot that we are one with spirit, and we cannot be separated from spirit. So this illusion of separation is the cause, the basis of every situation that we have. And yes, it should be cultivated at all times. Mm-hmm. So just want to thank you for that, because this just happened to me on Thursday, so I know for myself that that's a witness. That's just a witness. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Celia. Thank you for sharing this, and thank you for your testimony. And again, as I said, staring at this on a daily basis during your meditation, it's going to remain with you like your brain did inside your brain. And the more you think about it throughout the day, and you see these letters in your mind's eye, the more uncertainty that you have, and everything that you will do will happen with confidence, and it will appear to everyone that you have the Midas touch, that everything you touch, it's miraculously protected by the divine. God knows all of us could use this at this moment. But do not use this for triviality. I've said this to you again. Because you fear spiders and you have cockroaches and you fear cockroaches. This is nonsense. This is high-powered reshaping of natural law. There has to be a real need for it. Again, with great power comes great responsibility. All right.
Well, you said high power up here. I'm sorry, reshaping natural law. But this goes to our DNA also. It's reshaping our DNA.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. This is the reason why when you're using it, you're going to feel change. I mean, by the time I used it this morning, as I was walking on my walk, because I talked about this morning class, I went on my walk and I could see it like fire that was inside my body, inside my head. It was with me, and it's still with me. And I intend to look at it every day, because God knows I could use the help at this moment, and all of us can use it.
Yeah, but you would be wanting to have that connection to source, to the blessed field, and have surrendered whatever the issue that you're facing before you start to look
Absolutely. Absolutely.
out of your shower and look at it and say, now I'm done for the day.
No. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
got it.
explain the process to you. It's like the final phase, and then you go into certainty.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? All right, let's take a 5-minute break, and then we'll do our closing meditation. 5 minutes. Take a very deep and slow breath. And as you inhale and exhale deeply and slowly, allow the universal life force that permeates everything to enter into your lungs. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And let your soul and your awareness drop in the middle of your chest. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Please forgive me. I love you. And I let go. Let your heart and your mind sync with each other. And let your entire consciousness emanate now from your upper chest. Realize that you can perceive energies - 360 degrees. Keep breathing deeply and slowly. And notice what you noticed. Become aware of any pain, emotional pain, physical pain, fears, disempowerment, feelings of being overwhelmed, panicked, agitated, that may exist in you. Wherever this may exist in your physical body, emotional body, or your connection to people, places, and things, creating agitations, simply become aware of this and notice what you notice. Now let yourself experience this fully and completely. By direct contrast, let your entire awareness travel above your head and go into source, passing the atomic body, and let your entire awareness be enveloped by infinity times infinity and the vast continents. We ask God and the blessed field to take this cup away from us. May the disempowerment, the fears, the pain, the suffering, and the sheer panic and overwhelming emotional sensations be removed from us. I surrender all my pain and all my suffering into infinity times infinity. It is not my responsibility to fix, repair, manage, or control anything. I let go. Now take a look at your screen and take a look at the three Hebrew letters, Ayin, Resh, and Yod in the pink circle. From right to left, and make an eye contact and connection to it for the next few minutes. To rearrange your entire DNA and consciousness into absolute certainty. Now close your eyes and let this absolute certainty expand, grow, and radiate in every aspect of your life. Take a very deep and slow breath. And whenever you feel ready, you can open your eyes.
Thank you. Thank you. It helped a lot. The whole class and the meditation and the image of the Hebrew letters really made a strong impact. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Daily practice, will make it even better and better, stronger and stronger.
Yes, yes.
All right. Any other comments or questions before we close?
Thank you, Pierre.
You're welcome, Kit. Welcome, everyone. I want to thank all of you for listening to me tonight. And if you're listening to us on Patreon, thank you for your support. If you're listening to us on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll talk to you next week. Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night. Love you all.
Good night. Love you more. Bye.
Good night.